Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Reagan with Live 5 News, and we're out in the field today, but we're sitting down with Brian Adams over in the state legislature. He's over in Columbia. We're in Charleston, and we're talking about the primary race, obviously running for re-election. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
All right, so talk us through it. What's your campaign pitch? If nobody sees the rest of this and they got that first 1 minute, what do you want them to know as they head to the polls?
I want them to understand it. I'm one of those people that I'm reachable. I'm able to work with them and fight for them and make sure I'm a voice for them. Just here recently, one of the biggest things that came up was the squatter bill, and we were able to impact property owners right away by making sure that if a squatter came in, that we were able to give the property rights back to the owner and they can have those squatters removed right away. So those are things that's important to us, and make sure that we are out there for the citizens of South Carolina. So, and there's many different things that we've helped out with that, even like, so we just did an amendment for our state constitution because it's become aware to us that certain municipalities or towns would have the right to change their voter policies, and it would allow illegal aliens or illegal immigrants to vote in their local elections. And what we did is we actually just went in as well and changed the constitution of the state to where you can't do that. You have to be a legal citizen of the United States and South Carolina to vote.
All right, now you've been in the Senate here for a minute. What have you worked on? And I know that we've talked about this in a couple of interviews before, but what have you worked on in your tenure there? And maybe a couple of things that the people may be aware of.
Well, one of my biggest achievements I worked on was the bond reform. We as not just a state, not just my district, but as a country, we have been battling back against this revolving door of these career criminals. And one of the biggest things I was able to take part in was the bond reform. And as a retired law enforcement officer, that was huge for me. I wanted to make sure we were keeping those career criminals in, and we made sure that they were being held accountable for the crimes they made or created or did. And the bond reform did that. And that's something we worked on hard last year, all through the year, and we got it achieved, and the governor signed it. And it is, parts of it still taking effect, to where the bondsmen have to get a little bit more training, but we also, the courts now have to use the criminal history. They look at taking 10%. So it's not this revolving door on time payments anymore. The criminals are going to start being held accountable for their crimes.
Well, let's talk about some of the less headline getting issues, your crime and whatnot. Let's talk about some things that folks face every single day. I'm talking about affordable housing. I'm talking about things like flooding and infrastructure. What headway or what plans do you have moving into the future to address some of those issues that don't always grab the headlines, but are definitely in front of most of our minds?
Well, one of the things that's really impacting us is our infrastructure. And as former director Christy Hall and now director Justin, oh my gosh, Justin with the DOT now, it will we got a 10-year plan in place. Things are being, if you can't drive anywhere in South Carolina right now where you see some sort of construction to our roadways or infrastructure is going on. So we're getting ahead of certain things. The interstate being widened to 3 lanes. It was a 10-year plan. They believe now it's going to be done within 7 years. So it's 3 years ahead of schedule. So things like that are moving, and we're moving on it at a faster pace than we thought. Another area that impacts my area is going to be Long Point Road. So over there on Long Point Road, you got the ports, and right now the trucks are dumping out onto Long Point Road. Well, starting construction next year, we're going to start their own on-ramp and off-ramp out of the ports onto the interstate. So they're going to be off of Long Point Road, and that's going to help the community over there tremendously. So those are some right up to what you're talking about, in your face type of things that are going to impact people in a positive way.
Yeah, that Justin Powell was just sworn in 2 weeks ago.
Thank you.
Just got there. All right, so it sounds like you're handling a lot of the issues, but what's important to you in particular? I feel like everybody goes to the legislature maybe with one or two issues that are a little bit more niche, something that maybe is on the back burner. Do you have a passion project or a passion issue that you would like to maybe get to if you can get all these other things accomplished?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of my things, of course, being retired law enforcement, that's my passion. So a lot of things is I want to get more officers on the street. Right now, we're about 10% down in South Carolina of officers where we need to be. So we need to get more officers on the street. Two, we need to make sure that they have the laws in place to help them fight back against fentanyl. Now, we did do trafficking fentanyl. Now we have to go after homicide by overdose, and that's another bill that we need to help get through for law enforcement. Also, we need to get through and make sure that we're out there for officers and their training. And so these are and definitely things that impact me that I feel passionate about, making sure we're there for our law enforcement. One of the other things I'd like to do is see how can we impact on a better way of DUI enforcement. DUI is really, we're one of the worst states in the country for felony DUIs and death and DUIs, and we have to make sure that we're impacting and doing the right thing for our communities by getting these habitual DUI offenders off the road and keeping them off the road. They shouldn't be getting arrested for DUI fifth, pleading it down to a DUI first, and they're walking away. That's not how it's supposed to work. And unfortunately, things like that are happening right now, and they're not being held accountable for their status or their what they're doing wrong when they're driving drunk or under some sort of drugs or something.
All right, well, Senator Brian Adams, I know that you're jumping back and forth potentially from committee to committee or whatever's on your agenda today. But before I let you go, just once again leave us with your message that you want voters to have in mind as they're heading to the polls in June. Why you're the right candidate, the right Republican candidate for this job.
Well, what I'd have to say is I've been here. I helped cut taxes. I've helped police. I've helped them make sure they have what they need, supporting them. I've helped parents with allowing them to have a school choice for their children if they so desire. I have helped with the removal of the taxes for the retired military, help with the bond reform. And these are the kind of things I'm going to continue pushing and helping, making sure our citizens of South Carolina are taken care of as best they can. And that's the best part about being a state senator. Being a state senator, I represent a certain district, but I also represent the state of South Carolina. And my district starts from the exit Summerville into Mount Pleasant. And I got to make sure I'm there for all of them as well.
All right. Well, Senator Brian Adams, the incumbent and Republican candidate in the June primary, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
You too.